Have you ever thought about the paradox of nature? A tree always grows as tall as it can. A goose always flies south because it has no other choice. But only a human can decide to live below their potential. We are the only creature that was given not instinct, but choice. And it is this very choice that determines whether we create life to the fullest or stay halfway. I call this the dignity of choice. And in this video, I will show you why success is not a standard, not money, not a house, and not even a career, but the art of personal life design. And at the end, we will do a practical exercise together that will help you evaluate your choices starting today, so stay with me. Isn't it strange, my friends, that every form of life, except humans, lives to its fullest? Look at a tree, it always grows as tall as it can. It roots as deeply as the soil allows. It reaches for the sun with all its strength. And you will never find a tree that tells itself, you know what, this year I'll stop at half of my potential. I'll grow a couple of branches and that's enough. No, it always does everything it can. Now look at a human. We are the only creature that has the luxury of choice. We can grow tall, we can go deep, we can build life in any direction, but we are the ones who often decide not to. We can work half as much as our talent allows. We can settle for crumbs while inside there is an entire ocean of possibilities. We can close our eyes to our gifts, excusing ourselves with, "That's just how circumstances turned out. That's what someone else decided. That's how it went." Gaze. But is it really how it went, or was it our choice? I was once told, "Jim, you are not a tree. You don't have to stand in one place and wait until life drains all the juices out of you. You can move, you can change direction, you can start all over again." And then for the first time, I truly felt that it was the truth. Because a tree is doomed to stand where it was planted, a goose is doomed to fly where its code tells it to. But a human, no. We have a power that is both a blessing and a curse. The power of choice. Now think about this. Why didn't nature give us the instinct to live at our maximum? Why did it gift us the right to choose? Perhaps so that we could learn responsibility. Because every choice carries a consequence. Every refusal of discipline today creates regret tomorrow. And the opposite is also true. Every small discipline today eventually turns into joy, pride, and achievement. I once had a moment when I stood at a crossroads. I was 25 and drowning in debt. In my pocket, just a few coins. In the bank, nothing. And honestly, I could have said back then, well, that's the end. That's just how it turned out. I didn't have a chance. But then I met a person who told me a phrase that changed my whole life. "Jim, if you want things to change, you have to change. If you want things to get better, you have to get better." And then I realized it wasn't about fate. It was about the choices I made every day, choices that led me to where I was. Think about your life right now. Don't you feel that you could be higher, deeper, wider? Haven't you ever felt that you set your own ceiling, limited yourself with boundaries no one but you ever drew? Because you can choose anything. You can live in a city or move to the mountains. You can earn millions or reject money and live simply. You can build a business or write a book. You can change your profession, your country, your life's direction. All of it is in your hands. But here lies the paradox. Most people having this freedom choose the smallest path. They choose comfort, even if that comfort eventually turns into a trap. They choose safety, even if that safety costs them their dreams. They choose habit, even if that habit destroys their passion. Why is that? Because choice demands responsibility. It's easier to say that's how it turned out than to admit this was my choice. But let me tell you today, greatness is hidden in choice. You can live halfway, but you can also live fully. You can allow yourself a crumb, or you can take everything that belongs to you. You can live out someone else's script, or you can write your own. And that, my friends, is true success. Not money, not titles, not houses or cars, but a life script written by your own hand and brought into reality. And now we've come to the main question: what choice do you make? Because everything begins with it. Your day, your career, your family, your future. Everything begins with a choice. And in the next part, I'll reveal how this choice forms the foundation of your personal philosophy. And at the end, we will do a practical exercise that will help you evaluate your choices honestly and without excuses. Because in the end, success is a personal decision. When I first understood the power of choice, it wasn't fireworks. It was more like the click of a switch in a dark room. A new house didn't appear, my paycheck didn't instantly change, opportunities didn't fall from the sky. One thing changed. I took the switch into my own hands. Before that, I was controlled by random circumstances, other people's opinions, outdated habits. After I began to control myself. Choice is not a storm. It's a calm decision that steers the ship out of the fog and onto a course. And here comes the first paradox. The most valuable thing in life comes free. We are born with the right to choose, but we pay for it every day with responsibility. Look at how this drama unfolds. Every morning we stand at a small crossroads. Wake up at the first alarm or bargain for 10 more minutes. Tell the truth or smooth things over. Make the hard call or put it off until tomorrow. They seem like trifles. But life is not built of big climaxes. It is made of these small crossroads. Every yes carries 1,000 invisible no's. When you say yes to discipline, you say no to randomness. When you say yes to honesty, you say no to the inner judge who would otherwise question you at night. Choice is the architect of your reputation, your health, your relationships, your money. And the most interesting part, this architecture is always visible to others, even when you think it isn't. People see your consistency, or the lack of it. They hear the music of your character, even if you think you're playing very quietly. Back when I was 25 and the few coins in my pocket barely clinked, I loved to blame the weather, the government, the job market, someone else's indifference. But blame is a bad business. It pays no dividends. My mentor once said, "Jim, if you give the world the wheel, don't be surprised where it takes you." That's when I learned to see each day as a hall of an invisible auction, for sale minutes, hours, attention. Who will buy them, fear or purpose, habit or value? The winner is the one you give your bid to first. If procrastination places the first bid, by evening you'll be left with scraps. But that's not all. Habits grow into destinies, and once destiny is formed, it begins to shape you back. I like to think of choice as a compass, not a whip. A compass shows direction, but it doesn't pull. You pull yourself. That is the dignity. No boss, no policy, no new trend will make you keep your word if you yourself haven't decided that your word is of value. I'm not asking you to take my word for it. Do a little experiment. For 7 days, each morning, ask yourself one question. What one action will I take today to become a little better than yesterday? Just one. Write it down, do it, summarize in the evening. By the end of the week, you will not feel pride in the result. It will still be small, but the taste of the wheel in your hands, the taste of autonomy, and that is a lifetime addiction. Many fear choice because behind it lies the unknown. What if I make a mistake? Of course, sometimes we make mistakes, but saying, "I won't choose so I won't make a mistake" is also a choice. And honestly, it's the riskiest bet. Imagine a musician so afraid of hitting a wrong note that he never touches the keys. Who will teach him to listen? Where will he find his sound? We improve by playing. Life is not a test with pre-written answers, but a rehearsal with a live audience. And the audience always forgives an honest performance, but never forgives silence where your part was meant to be heard. Here's another important turn. Choice is not only yes to something, but also no to someone. I spent a long time learning to say no to good in order to say yes to better. Offers poured in, each tempting in its own way, but you cannot read every book, work every job, be friends with everyone, pursue every activity. Success is the art of refusal. When I stopped grabbing at every opportunity and focused on chosen priorities, something appeared that once seemed like a myth: depth. And depth always beats breadth. It brings mastery, trust, influence. Yes, you temporarily lose variety, but you gain the power of focus, and focus over time brings back variety, but on different terms, on yours. Now about the inner court. Each of our choices is reviewed in the courtroom of conscience. The prosecutor, your values; the lawyer, your excuses; the judge, truth. And the verdict is always one: either self-respect or a small crack in it. No salary, no applause, no likes will fix that crack if you know you betrayed your own standard. That's why I've repeated for years, discipline is a light burden, regret is an unbearable weight. Discipline is the down payment for self-respect. Regret is the interest on loans you took from laziness and fear. And here's the good news. Court starts fresh every day. A new morning, a new hearing. Rise and speak the truth with your actions. Some may say, "Jim, what about circumstances? Not everything depends on us." True, there are things stronger than our will, the weather, borders, other people's decisions. But the miracle is that between circumstance and reaction, there is always space. In that space, your freedom. In that sliver of time lies everything best you want for yourself and your loved ones. You cannot command the wind, but you can set the sail. You cannot schedule the waves, but you can learn to keep balance. Choice is not a way to control the world. It is a way to govern yourself in any world. Let me share a small story from when I was just learning responsibility. I was offered an easy side job promising quick money and zero growth. That same day, I received another offer, difficult, slow, with perspective, but with the sense that the first month would be a struggle with no visible results. I sat with 2 sheets on one, today's numbers, on the other, arguments for tomorrow. Finally, I asked myself, who will I become in a year if I choose the first? Who will I become if I choose the second? The answer decided it all. I chose the path that shaped me, not just my wallet. It was hard, yes, but after a year came skills, a team, a reputation, money too, but as a consequence, not a goal. And again, I heard that same switch click, I'm steering the course. There is another invisible mechanism of choice, the language you use with yourself. When you say, I have to, the brain looks for excuses. When you say, I choose to, the brain looks for ways. Try replacing, I have to go to the gym with, I choose to strengthen my body, instead of, I have to work on the project. I choose to build my mastery. Same actions, but different energy. Obligation often pulls you back. Choice pushes you forward. Why does it work? Because have to is someone else's command, choose to is your authority, and people protect what belongs to them. Remember also, choice without a system wears out quickly. A one-time decision is like a spark. A system is like firewood. That's why I encourage you to create choice confirmation rituals. Small actions that reinforce your yes. If you chose health, place a glass of water where your hand first reaches. If you chose learning, keep a book open on the right page on your desk. If you chose honesty, end the day with a short review, noting one moment when you told the truth even though it was uncomfortable. These rituals are like the ties beneath the tracks of your decision. They carry you further than sheer willpower. Of course, in the hall of life, there will always be advisors who say your choice is wrong, late, too bold, or not ambitious enough. Listen, I'm all for advice. Information is gold, but commands are chains. Take people's light, don't give them the wheel. The smartest decisions I made were when I listened carefully, thanked sincerely, and then in solitude compared what I heard with my own values. If it aligned, I took it. If not, I said thank you and went my own way. And the miracle is that in time, even those who were first offended began to respect your no. And here's another subtlety rarely spoken about. When you choose a path and then make mistakes, don't change your path every time you hit a rock. Choice is the course, mistake is the correction of the wheel. Many people fail not because they chose wrong, but because they treat every obstacle as a verdict and constantly move their camp. Patience is also a choice. To hold the direction when the wind is against you, that is where character is born. And here I'll give you a little teaser. In the practical part, we will do an exercise to help you distinguish a wise correction from a panicked turnaround. This will save you months, maybe even years. Finally, in this part, I want you to feel a truth as simple as bread. Choice is the source of dignity. A person who chooses consciously becomes calmer. They envy less, justify less, forgive faster. Why? Because they know why they are where they are and where they are going next. Calmness is not the absence of problems, but the presence of a decision. And when the decision is yours, for the first time in a long time, life becomes yours. We're only warming up. Next, deeper. We will talk about how choice grows into life design, how to turn scattered intentions into a clear model where every brick has its place, every day has meaning, and every small action strengthens the next. But that is another story. For now, do just one thing. Quietly, with no witnesses, say out loud what you choose for yourself today. And watch how in a dark room your own switch clicks on. When we talk about success, most people imagine something external. A bigger house, a prestigious car, a certain social status. But the real work doesn't begin outside, it begins inside. I remember when my mentor Earl Schoaf told me words that struck like thunder in a clear sky. Jim, if you want things to change, you have to change. If you want things to get better, you have to get better. At first, it sounded almost unfair. I thought, how is it my fault that the market is tough, that the company pays little, that circumstances aren't in my favor? But the truth was different. My circumstances reflected the person I was at that time, which meant the only real change had to begin within. Look around. You'll meet people who wait for years, hoping the situation will improve on its own. They wait for political change, for a better economy, for good news. They wait for someone to come and give them permission to act. But this waiting is the longest prison in the world. True freedom begins where you decide to move forward, no matter what. I also once waited. I waited for money, for confidence, for the moment I would feel ready. And my mentor only smiled, Jim, you could wait your whole life, or you could start today. That's when I discovered another law. You don't attract into your life what you want, you attract what you become. If discipline rules within you, you attract opportunities. If you're filled with honesty, you attract trust. If you develop generosity, you attract partners. Life is a mirror. It doesn't flatter or embellish. It simply reflects who you truly are. And here's the question. If you don't like what you see in the mirror of life, isn't it time to stop hitting the mirror and finally change the reflection? I remember when I was 25, standing at rock bottom, empty pockets, debts, broken promises. That's when I first heard another truth. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. That was the turning point. I realized my external results would always trail behind my internal level. If I wanted more, I had to become more. And here's what's interesting. Once I began to change, everything around me changed. The people I met, the opportunities that appeared, the level my family rose to, all of it was a reflection of my own growth. But here lies another trap. We often start with inspiration, but then lose momentum. We wait for motivation to come every day like the morning sun. But motivation is unreliable. It's a guest. It may come, it may not. Success doesn't rest on inspiration, but on discipline. Discipline is the bridge between desire and result. It's invisible, it's not always pleasant, but it bears fruit. And here everyone must make a choice, the weight of discipline today or the weight of regret tomorrow. And I'll say it again, discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. You may ask, but how do I start? The secret is in the small things. No heroic leaps required. Just small daily steps. Want to become better? Start with 5 minutes of reading. Dream of health. Start with a glass of water in the morning. Want more confidence? Make one call you've been putting off. These little steps may seem insignificant, but they build a system. And the system builds character. Friends, there's another great battle I must tell you about. It's not you against the world, not you against the economy, not even you against your neighbor. It's you against yourself. The me today versus the me yesterday. This is the only real arena where there are no excuses and no outside factors. And in this arena, you have the greatest power. To conquer yourself is to gain freedom over everything else. I want you to understand one thing. You may have zero in the bank, zero opportunities, zero support, but even from zero, the greatest stories begin. Zero is not a sentence, it's a starting point. It's a chance to begin without masks, without illusions, honestly, using only your hands, your mind, and your willpower. And this is where true resilience is born. Now imagine your life as a house. Each of your decisions is a brick. Some lay bricks in haste, others carefully and consistently. Some build chaotic walls, others a clear foundation. And the difference isn't visible right away, but when the storm comes, one house falls, the other stands. Your success is the architecture of your daily choices. And I'll leave you for a moment with this image. Tomorrow morning, when you stand again at your small crossroads of choice, remember this house. Ask yourself, what brick am I laying today? And then you'll feel that every step you take truly matters. In the next part, we'll talk about another level, how to turn discipline and choice into the true art of life design, so that each day is not just lived, but shapes you and your legacy. But that's still ahead. There's something special about the art of designing your own life. Most people live as if the blueprint was already drawn by someone else. Parents, society, culture, random habits. They accept the ready-made plan and follow it without even asking, whose blueprint is this anyway? But the truth is, no one but you has the right to hold the pencil in this story. You were born the architect of your own house, even if for a long time it feels like you're just a worker on someone else's construction site. My life began to change when I realized I could not only choose direction, but also create design. It's not simply work or don't work. It's the deeper questions, what am I working for? What values do I want to lay as the foundation? If life is a garden, then choice is the shovel, and design is the plan of what we plant. Some plant trees that give shade, others flowers that please the eye, others grain that feeds generations. The question is not which is better, but whether it matches your vision. I'm often asked, Jim, how do you know which design is right? And I always answer, the right design is the one that gives you peace. Not comfort because comfort is deceptive, not approval because approval is fleeting, but peace. That inner feeling when you know you're walking your path, even if slowly, and even when storms arise, you don't panic because you understand the course you're holding. I realized another thing. Without discipline, design never comes alive. A plan on paper is just fantasy. Discipline turns fantasy into walls, dreams into a roof, ideas into a room you can live in. And this is where many stumble. People make long lists of goals, decorate them with fine words, but leave out the main ingredient, the brick of discipline. And without bricks, even the most beautiful blueprint remains just an empty page. Let me share an image that helped me. Imagine each of your days as a brick. It can be crooked or straight, strong or fragile. You lay it in your building whether you want to or not. And here's the question, will these bricks bear the weight of your future, or will your house crumble in the first storm? Discipline ensures the quality of the bricks. Daily practice, small repeated actions, these are what give them strength. Another important truth, not all rooms in your house are equally needed. Sometimes we build halls for other people's applause while leaving narrow closets for our own joy. And that is a tragedy, because in the end, you are the one who will live in this house. I've met people who lived so that everyone admired their facade, but when left alone, they found there was no warmth inside. Friends, true success is when your house warms you, not just impresses the neighbors. Here we touch on another deep truth. There are two pains, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline is always today. You wake up earlier, refuse easy pleasure, choose the harder path. It hurts, but it quickly passes. The pain of regret is always delayed. You live years with ease, but one day you look back and realize you've lost decades. And that pain never goes away. That's why I always say, choose the first pain. It is lighter, it is temporary, it builds. There is another enemy of life design comparison. We often build our rooms like our neighbors. He has an office, I need one too. She has a car, I want one too. But if that room isn't in your blueprint, why waste years building it? Living by someone else's plan is like building someone else's house, then wondering why it feels cramped. Success is not having what everyone else has, but creating a space that matches your own soul. I'll admit, I once chased after other people's blueprints too. I wanted more because that's what you're supposed to do. I wanted faster because everyone already has it. And then you know what I got? Exhaustion and the feeling I was living someone else's life. Only when I stopped and honestly asked myself, what is true success for me, did that peace I spoke of earlier appear. And my house, though it may not have been the biggest, became mine. And here we reach the practical question. How do you create your design? First, honesty. Write on paper, what do I truly want? Not what sounds good among friends, but what makes you breathe deeper. Second, discipline. Build small daily habits that confirm that choice. Third, patience. Even the strongest house isn't built in a week. But with time, it becomes a fortress where you can say, here it is, my work. This is my house. This is my life. So may you always have the courage to draw your own lines and the wisdom to lay your own bricks. Because in the end, success is not the applause of the crowd, but the feeling that you live in the house you designed yourself. And believe me, that is the highest sense of dignity. Friends, I want us to make a small stop right now. This is not a pause in growth, it's a map check. Because what's the point of moving forward if you're not sure you're heading in your own direction? We won't pause the video, we'll keep going, but I'll give you these questions here and now, and you answer them in your mind, on the go, from the heart. And if you want, you can return to them after watching and write them down more deeply. I suggest using a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 means not at all, I'm far from this, and 10 means yes, this is fully my life. Important, don't look for the right answers. There are no grades here for others. This mirror is only for you. First question, how honestly are you living by your own design and not by someone else's blueprint? Imagine your house. Is it your home or someone else's facade where you're forced to spend the night? If you give yourself a 3 or 4, don't be afraid. That's a signal. It's time to draw your own lines. Second question, how much is discipline a part of your daily life? Not as punishment, but as the bricks from which your fortress is built. Imagine your days as a wall, Is it straight and strong or full of gaps from broken promises? Give yourself a number. Third question, how much peace do you feel on your chosen path? Not comfort, not approval, but deep peace, the kind you feel when you know that even if you move slowly, you are going in your own direction. Imagine the ocean. The waves are always there, but do you feel the wheel in your own hands? Fourth question, how honest are you with yourself in daily decisions? Imagine a mirror. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't lie. When you look at your actions, do you see a person you trust? If not, write the number honestly. Because truth heals, even if at first it stings. Fifth question, how much are you growing every day? Not how fast you run, but whether yesterday's you is smaller and weaker than today's. Imagine that you are competing only with yourself. Does today's version win by even half a step? Think about these ratings without brushing them aside. If you see low numbers, that's not a verdict, it's a compass. And if you see high numbers, rejoice, but don't stop, because life always has new peaks. I invite you to take one more small action right now. If you're enjoying this journey, if these questions already helped you pause and look into the mirror, subscribe to the channel, hit like, leave a comment. Which number surprised you most? Because maybe your experience will become someone else's encouragement. And after watching, return to these questions with pen and paper. Write down your answers, because written words always carry greater power. Remember, we are all architects of our own lives, but only those who draw honestly and build with discipline feel true peace in their own house. Friends, we've traveled a long road together, from realizing the power of choice to the art of designing your life and the discipline that turns plans into reality. And now the moment has come to put the final dot, or more accurately, to draw a big arrow forward. Because the true conclusion of any conversation about success isn't words, it's your next action. I'll repeat the main truth plainly without embellishment. Success isn't something you can buy, borrow, or steal. Success is the daily sum of your decisions. It is the design you dared to create and carried through. It is the inner peace of a person holding the wheel with their own hands. I was once told, if you want life to be different, become different yourself. And today I'll add, if you want to feel respect for yourself, choose discipline over regret. Today's discomfort over tomorrow's emptiness, your truth over someone else's approval. Let your days from now on be not a random set of episodes, but a consistent story where each chapter justifies the last and strengthens the next. Let your work align with your values, and let your values survive the crash test of reality intact. Let your house, built from the bricks of small but honest actions, stand strong in any weather. I know sometimes it feels like you're too late, that you started from a worse position, that everyone else had better cards. But life doesn't ask which card you started with, it looks at how you play your hand now. And here lies your dignity and your freedom. You're not a tree bound to its soil. You're not a mechanism that only works by instruction. You are the author, and the pen is in your hands. Yes, sometimes your hand shakes, sometimes the lines are crooked, sometimes you want to crumple the page, but no one will write this book for you. And believe me, the worst thing isn't a mistake in the text, it's a blank page. So I'm speaking to you now not as random viewers, but as people capable of an honest step toward themselves. Choose today one thing that brings you closer to your life's design. Just one. Call the person you owe the truth to. Wake up 30 minutes earlier tomorrow to sit alone with your thoughts and plan. Write 3 sentences in your journal, not for beauty, but for clarity. Say no to something that doesn't serve your course, even if it feels convenient. Start with a small action, because small actions have a habit of multiplying and bringing friends. Ask yourself out loud, what do I truly want from life? What am I willing to pay for with discipline? And what will I never again waste a single minute on? The answer to this question is your compass. And a compass knows how to be a strict teacher. It doesn't always point where you want to go, but it always points where you need to go. Trust it. And when things get hard, when the wind blows against you, remember, the storm doesn't define direction. It only tests your sails. The last thought I want to leave you with is simple as a seed and strong as bread. Life doesn't get better by chance, it gets better by change. And change begins with choice. Your choice. Today, not tomorrow, not in the new year, not after perfect circumstances. Today, if this video helped you take even one step closer to yourself, let me know. Subscribe, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs a compass right now. But above all, take your small action right after this. Let it be as simple as flipping a switch in a dark room, because once you dare to do it, you'll see that the space you live in is bigger, brighter, and most importantly, yours. Remember my favorite principle. Success is not what you pursue, but what you attract by the person you become. Become someone your dreams cannot ignore. And I'll see you on the path, the one where every step confirms your choice, and every day adds a brick to a house that feels good to live in and honorable to leave behind.